All right, 110th Congress, first session, House of Representative, document 11049. How our laws are made, revised, updated. John V. Sullivan, Parliamentation, U.S. House of Representatives, presented Mr. Brady of Pennsylvania, July 24, 2007. Order to be printed. U.S. Government Printing Office in Washington, D.C., 2007. 110th Congress, United States, at the first session, Congress resolution, concurrent resolution. Section 1. How laws are made. In general, with addition of the brochure entitled How Laws Are Made or Revised under the Direction of Parliamentation, House or Representative with the Consultation, Parliamentation of the Senate shall be printed with the House document under the direction of the Joint Committee of Printing. Additional copies, usually number there, should be printed lesser. 550,000 copies of the document, which is 440,000 copies, shall be used for the House or Representative with 100,000 copies shall be used for the Senate, and 10,000 copies shall be used for the Joint Committee on Printing. Such numbers of the copy of the document does not exceed with the total production printing costs $479,247 for the distribution allocated for the same portion described in paragraph 1, except in no case shall the number of copies be less than one per member of Congress. Lorraine C. Millard, Clerk of House of Representatives, Nancy Erickson, Secretary of Senate. Early printings. Forward. Introduction. The Congress source of legislation, forms of congressional action, bills, joint resolution, concurrent resolution, simple resolution, introduction, referral to committee, consideration by committee, committee meetings, public hearings, markup, final committee action, points of order, respect for the committee hearing and procedure. 7. Report of bills, contents of reports, filing of reports, availability of reports, and hearing. 8. Legislative oversight, standing committees. 9. Calendars, union house, private calendars, calendar of motion, discharge committees. 10. Obtain consideration measures, unanimous consent, special resolution, rule, consideration measure, and word of rule, reported with the Committee on Rules. Motion to discharge committee, motion to suspend the rules, calendar Wednesday, District Columbia business, and question privilege. Privilege matters, section 11, Congress, consideration debate committee with a whole second reading, it's amendment of the Germanness rule, congressional earmarks, committee rise, House action, motion recommit, quorum calls, recalls, voting, electronic voting, pairing, members system, light bells, recess, authority, live coverage of floor proceedings. 12. Congressional budget process. 13. Engrossment message to Senate. 14. Senate action committee consideration, chamber procedures. 15. Final action amendment bill, request conference authority to conference. Meeting and action, conferences, conference reports, custody of papers. 16. Bill originating in Senate. 17. Enrollment. 18. Presidential action, veto message, line item veto. 9. Publication, slip laws, statute large in the United States Code. Appendix is, and alright, House laws are made. Introduction. This brochure with an intent to provide with a basic outline of the numerous steps of the federal lawmaking process, source of the ideal legislative proposals with a publication statute. Legislative process of the matter of which every person should be informed in order to understand and appreciate the work in Congress. It's hope and endeavor the guide will enable the readers to gain a greater understanding of the federal legislative process, the role of the foundation and representative system of the most practical safeguard American democratic way of life is of the legislative process, emphasis on the protection of minority, allowing ample opportunity to all sides to be heard for the make of the views known, but the fact of the proposal cannot become a law without consideration and approval by the House of Congress is outstanding virtue of the bicameral legislative system. The open and full discussion provided with the Constitution often result with a notable improvement of bill amendment before it becomes law with the eventual defeat with an advisable proposal. As a majority of the laws originate in the House of Representatives, the discussion will focus principally on the procedure in that body. 2. The Congress, Article 1, Section 1, United States Constitution provides all legislative powers herein granted vested with the Congress of the United States, which consists of the Senate and House of Representatives. The Senate is composed of 100 members, 2 of each state, with regardless of the population of the area, elected by the people in accordance with the 17th Amendment of the Constitution. 17th Amendment change of the former constitutional method under which senators were chosen for the respective state legislature. Senator must be at least 30 years of age and have a citizen of the United States for the 9 years who elected for the inhabitant site of the state which the senator is chosen. For the term of the office is 6 years. 1/3 of the total membership of the Senate is elected every second year of the term, and both senators of the particular state are arranged so that they do not terminate at the same time. 2 senators state and serving at the same time. The one was elected first. If the both elected at the same time, and the one elected for the full term is referred to as a senior senator from the state. Other is referred to as junior senator. Senator dies and resigns during the term. The governor of the state must call a special election unless the state legislature authorizes the governor to appoint a successor until the next election. At this time, at which time the successor is elected, the balance of the term, most of the state legislature have granted their governors of the power of appointment. Each senator has 1 vote. A constituted 110th Congress, a House of Representatives composed of 435 members elected every 2 years from among 50 states with a proportion to their total population, and the permanent numbers of the 435 of the federal law following the 13 genocidal census of the 1910 in accordance with the Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution, with the number increased for the temporary 437th for the 87th Congress to provide for the representatives of Alaska and Hawaii. Constitution limited the number of the representatives to more than one for every 30,000 of the population. Under the form or appointment of one state with a particular representative, the represented more than 900,000 constitutes all of another same state with elective of the district having a population only 175,000. Supreme Court has since held unconstitutional the Missouri state with a permitting of the maximum population variance of 3.1 mathematical equality. Court ruled Kirkpatrick versus Presler, 394 U.S. 526, 1969, variance of among the district's non-avoidable end if there would invalid the decision interpretation of the courts earlier with the ruling of Wesbury and Sanders, 376 U.S. 1, 1964, with the constitutional cover nearly as practicable one of the man's votes with a considerable election to be worthy as much of another. Laws enacted with the 1967 that abolished with a large election was exempt of the loss of the populace entitled with only one representative in a large election is one in which representative elected by the voters entire state rather than by the voters of the congressional district within the state. Representative must be at least 25 years of age and have been a citizen of the United States for 7 years, elected with the inhabitant state of the representative is chosen elect for the Senate, where a successor may be appointed by the governor with a vacancy during the term. If the representative dies or resigns during the term of the executive authority state with a must call the special election pursuant to the state law of the chosen with the successor serve the unexpired portion of the term. Each representative has 1 vote. In addition to the representative, each of the state of the resident commissioner of the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, delegate of the District of Columbia, American Samoa, of the Guam, and the Virgin Islands, elected pursuant to the federal law of the resident commissioner, elected 4-year terms of the delegates, elected 2-year terms have most of the prerogatives of the representative include the right to vote with the committee to which was elected, with the right to vote with the committee with a whole subject and an automatic revote of the House whenever the recorded vote has been a decided margin that has the votes cast with the delegates. Resident commissioner have been the decisive of the right to preside with the committee of the whole. However, the resident commissioner and the delegates do not have the right to vote on the matters before the House. Under the provision of Section 2 of the 20th Amendment of the Constitution, Congress must be assembled at least once every year with the noon of the 3rd day of January, unless with the law they appointed to the different day, but the Congress has at least 2 years of the commencing with the January of the year of the following of the biannual election of the members of the Congress for the divided within 2 regular sessions. The Constitution authorizes the House to determine the rule of the proceeding pursuant to the authority House of the Representatives adopt the rules of each of the Congress ordinarily with the open day with the session. The Senate considers its continuing body operates under the continuous standing rules that it amends from time to time. Unlike some of the parliamentary bodies of the Senate and of the House of Representatives, the equal legislative function of the power were certain exemptions. For example, the Constitution provides that only the House of Representatives may originate revenue bills by the tradition of the House of the originating for the appropriation bill. For the both bodies have the equal legislative power of the designated one over the upper house and the other is lower house. It is not applicable to the chief function of the Congress is making the laws. In addition, with the Senate with the function to advise the consent due to the treaties of the certain nominations by the President under the 25th Amendment of the Constitution vote, and each House is required to confirm the President's nomination for a Vice President when there is a vacancy in the office. For the matter of the impeachment, the House of Representatives present for the charges of function similar to the grand jury, Senate of the court with the try the impeachment. No impeached person may remove with a 2/3 of the vote. The Senate of the quorum being present for the Congress under the Constitution by state laws plays the role of the presidential election, but with the House meet for the joint sessions of the 6th day of the January following by the presidential election unless the law of the May appoint a different day with the count of the electoral vote for the candidate receive the majority of the total electoral vote for the House of Representatives. Each state delegation have the one vote chose for the president among the three candidates having the largest number of electoral votes. Senate each of the Senate have the one of the vote, two for the vice president, two for the candidates having the last number of votes for that office. 3. Source of legislation. The source of the idea of legislation limited to proposed of the draft of the bills originating with the amended version of the court's primary among these ideas in the draft achieved with a member of the emanated of the election campaign during the members of the province with effect for the introduced legislation particular subject for the member that may also have become aware after taking office for the need of the amendment to repeal the existing law of the enactment of the statute with entirely a new field. Additional, the member constituted as an individual through the citizen group that may avail of themselves of the right to the petition with the transmit of the proposal of the member of the right with the petition guaranteed with the First Amendment of the Constitution. Similar state legislators are made memorize with the Congress to enact the separate specified federal law with the passing resolution transmitted to the House or Senate with a memorial favorably impressive with the idea with a member that may introduce with a proposal in a form which have them submitted with a redraft in an event with a member may consult the Legislative Council with the House or with the Senate with the frame of the idea with a substance is thus suitable legislative language and form and the monitoring of the executive communication has become the prolific source of a legislative proposal with communication usually is form of the message of the later of the member of the President's cabinet with the head of the independent agency, the President with himself, with transmitting a draft of the proposed bill with the Speaker of the House of Representatives, with the President of the Senate, with the structure of the separation of the powers. Article 2 and Section 3 constitute and impose the obligation on the President to report to the Congress from time to time in the State of the Union to the recommended with the consideration of such measures President consider the necessary expended that may be the executive of the communication filed with the President message to Congress on the State of the Union. The communication will refer to the standing committee with the committee with the head of the jurisdiction subject with the matter proposal of the chairman and the ranking of the minority member of the relevant committee with the entry of the bill even in the form of the receipt of the desired changes. This practice is usually followed even with the majority of the House of the President, not the same of the political party, although the non-constitutional statutory requirement of the bill will introduce with effectuate recommendations. The most important of the regular executive communication annual message of the President transmitting the proposal of the budget to the Congress, President budget proposal with the evidence of the testimony official of the various branches of the government before the Operations Committee of the House and the Senate of the basis of the several of the operations that drafted by the Committee of the Operations of the House and Senate of the drafting statutes and the art of the with the great skill of the knowledge experience in some instance of the draft as a result of the study and the covering a period of a year or more of the commission of the committee with the designated by the president with a member of the cabinet administrator of the Procedure Act of the Uniform Code of Military Justice. 2 examples of the enactment resulting from such of the studies. Additional congressional committees sometimes draft bills after study with the hearings over the covering periods of the year or more. 4 forms of congressional action when the work of the Congress initiated with an introduction proposal with 1 of 4 forms: bill, joint resolution, concurrent resolution, simple resolution. The most customary form of the U.S. both of the House of it is the bill during 109th Congress of the 2005 and 2006, 10,558 bills, 143 joint resolutions will be introduced to both the House. Of the total number that introduced 6,436 bills, with 102 joint resolutions originated in the House of Representatives for the purpose of simplicity of the discussion, confidently, generally procedure, measure a House of Representatives the brief comment of each of the form of the bill, with the form most legislation, whether the permanent or the temporary, general, special, public, private, the form of the House bill as follows. 6. A bill for establishment, etc., as the title may be, by the enacted of the time in the House of Representatives of the United States of America for the Congress assembled with the enacting clause of the prescribed of the law of 1871 entitled identical with the all bill with whatever the originating in the House Representative in the Senate. Bill originated either the House of Representatives of the Senate with a notable exemption of the Article 1, Section 7 of the Constitution to provide that all the bills raising revenue which are originating in the House of Representatives brought with the Senate may propose or concur amendment of the tradition general of the operation of the bill originating in the House of Representatives. 2 types of public and private. The public public bill is the one that affects the public generally. Bill that affects specified by the individual private entity rather than the population in large call for the private bill. The typical private bill, either the relief of the immigration of the naturalization claims against the United States. Bills originated with the House of Representatives and the HR file with the number of the retained throughout the law of the parliamentary stage. The letters are simplified with the House of Representatives is sometimes with the incorrectly assumed House resolution. Senate bill to designate with the S file with the number of the term companion bill to describe the bill that introduced the House of the Congress, similar and identical with the bill introduced the their House of the Congress. A bill that has been agreed into an identical form of the both bodies becomes the law of the land only after the President's approval. The figure of the President return with objections within the House of the originating within 10 days. Sunday accepted while Congress is in session, overriding with the presidential veto 2/3 in each house. Such a bill that does not become a law without the president's signature of the Congress or by final adjournment with the return of the objective known as the pocket veto for the discussion of the presidential action legislation. Part 18. Joint resolutions may originate either with the House of Representatives and with the sometimes with the incorrectly assumed with joint and believe both in the House with a little practical difference between bill and joint resolution with the two forms, sometimes used with an interchange with the one difference over the form joint resolution may include with the preamble to proceed with the resolving clause of the statute with the F that initiated with the bills may be amended with the joint resolution, vice versa. Both of the subject same procedure except for the joint resolution proposing the amendment to the Constitution. Joint resolutions amended with the Constitution approved by 2/3 of both of the House is not presented to the President for the approval of the joint resolution sent directly to the Archivist of the United States with the submission with the several states with the ratification of the legislature of the 3/4 of the states within the period of the time prescribed by the joint resolution is necessary for the amendment to become part of the constitutional form of the House resolution. Is this filed with the joint resolution any authorizing in the title to be resolved Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America and Congress assembled with that, etc. With the resolving clause identical to both the House and Senate joint resolution prescribed by the statute 1871 frequently proceed with the preamble consisting of the one or more of the where of the clause indicating the necessity and desirability of the joint resolution. Joint resolutions originating House Representative with the HJ resolution filed with the individual member of the joint retained throughout with the parliamentary stage originating in Senate with the designated SJ with the resolution followed by the member of the joint resolution with the exemption proves the bill with the Constitution becoming law in the same manner with the bills. Current resolution matter affecting the operation both of the House initiated with the concurrent resolution not impractical with the determined by the Supreme Court INS versus Chada 46 2 U.S. 1983, concurrent with a simple regulation, normal non-legislative chapter character, since not presented with the President with approval of the OSCE with merely expressing facts and principles with the opinion of the purpose of the two have with the concurrent resolution non-equivalent of the bill issued with the normally limited within these bounds. The term concurrent and like joint does not simply simultaneously introduction consideration of both the House current resolution originating with the House over the designated with the H-con res followed by the individual number that's signed with the concurrent resolution when it says S-con res together with the numbers of the other approval of both of the House assigned with the clerk or House Secretary with the sign with the transmit with the Archivist of the United States with the public special for the part of the statute's large volume of the session with the Congress. Simple resolution. Matter concerned with the rules of the operation opinion with the House alone with the initiative with a simple resolution affecting the House representative designated with the HRES for the following with the B the number the silent resolution S res together with the number with a simple resolution considered with the only with the body with that were introduced upon the adoption of the simple resolution with the test with the clerk of the House representative with the Secretary of the Senate or publishing in the Congressional Record. 5. Introduction referral to the committee. Any member of the delegate with the resident commissioner of the Puerto Rico with the House representative may introduce the bill at any time of the whole of the House of the session simply placing with a hopper or wooden box provided with a purpose located on the side of the rostrum of the House of the chapter of the permission House chamber. Permission is not required to be introduced in the member in the measure introduced the measure. The member introduced the bill with the dome of the primary response with except for the case of the private bills and limited number of members when they come co-sponsor of the bill. To prevent a possibility of the bill may be introduced in the House of the behalf of the member of the without the member's prior with approval of the primary sponsor of the signature of the must review of the before of the bill for the accepted of the introduction. Member who co-sponsored the bill upon the day of the introduction, original co-sponsor with the member with a co-sponsor of the bill for the introduction, additional co-sponsor with the co-sponsor with the not required to sign a bill. Member may not be added with the deleted with the co-sponsor after the bill has been reported by the discharge from the last committee with the authorized to consider with the speaker may entertain with the request of the delete the name of the primary sponsor with any time of the co-sponsor with the names of the may be deleted by the own anonymous consent with the request of the primary sponsor with the incentive of the unlimited multiple sponsorship with over the bill with the permitted with the member insert with the word with the by request after with the member's name indicate with the introduction of the measure with the suggestion some of the other person in the group usually with the president or with a member of the cabinet. In the Senate, the senator usually introduces the bill of the resolution presenting one of the clerks with the presiding officer for the desk without commencing of it on the floor itself. However, the senator used a more formal procedure for the rising with the introducing of the bill resolution floor with the usually accompanied with a statement of the measure frequent with the senator with the retained with the consent to have the bill resolution printed with the congressional record trial with the formal statement in the House of Representatives no longer custom of the read of the bills even with the title of the time of the introduction. The title is entitled Enter with the journal with the printed with the congressional record reserved and the purpose of the custom of the bill is assigned to the legislative. The number of the clerk of the bill is referred to with the required by the rules of the House and with the appropriate committee with the by the speaker with the assistance parliamentary with the bill of the number of the committee with the referral appeal. In the next issue of the congressional record, if it's sent with the government with the printing office where it is printed with the copies made available the documents for the rooms of both the House and pre-elected version, printed electronic versions that are made available to the public. Copies of the bill are sent with the office of the chairman, each of the committee with which have been referred with the clerk of the committee with the enter of the committee legislative calendar. Perhaps the most important phase of the legislative process of the action of the committee provide with the most intensive of the consideration proposed measure that as well with the forum of the public with the given and with the opportunity to hear with the tremendous volume of the work often overlooked by the public is done by the members of the phase. There are presence of the 20 standing committee of the House and 16 of the Senate as well as the selective several select committee of the addition of the 4 standing joint committee of the 2 House with the oversight of the responsibility no legislative jurisdiction. The House may create the select committees or task forces to specify specific issue of the report them on the housing with a task force over the maybe established formally through a resolution passed by the House informally with the organization and of the members of the House of the leadership committee with the jurisdiction defined with a certain subject matter with the rules of the House with all the measures for the referred with the accordingly. For example, the committee with the judiciary with the House with the jurisdiction over the measures relating to the judicial proceeding with the 18 other categories, including with the constitutional amendments, immigration policy, bankruptcy, patent, copyright, trademarks, and total of the rule of the House and Senate, each of the provided with the 200 different classification measures of the referred to the committee until 1975. The Speaker of the House could refer a bill to only one committee, and the modern practice of the Speaker may refer to the introduce of the bill to multiple committees with the consideration of each provision of the bill with the jurisdiction over the committee with the consideration of the except for the extremely extraordinary circumstances. The Speaker may designate primary committee with the jurisdiction on bills referred to multiple committee of the Speaker may place with the limit of the consideration bill with the by all of the committee with the usually with the time limit with the place for the only addition of the committee with the which of the bill has referred to the following report with the primary committee. In the Senate, introduced measure with the House of the passment of the measure referred to the committee with the preponderant with the jurisdiction of the parliamentary on the behalf of the presiding officer by the special with the standing over the measure of the may be referred to more than one committee of the Senate. Membership of the various committees was divided between the 2 major political parties with the portion of the members of the minority party with the members of the majority party to determine the majority party except for the half of the members of the committee sharing official conduct from the majority of the party of the half of the minority party with the respective part of the caucuses nominate with a member of the caucuses to be elected with each of the standing committee being each of the Congress members shown with the standing committee during the Congress for the course of the Congress contingent on continuing membership of the party caucus for the nominee with the members of the election to the committee with the member ceases to be with the member of the party caucus for the member automatically ceases to be with the member of the standing committee member of the House membership of the 2 committee with the 4 subcommittee with a certain exemption however the rules caucus with the majority party with the House for the provide with the member with the maybe the chairman or only the subcommittee with a committee select committee legislative jurisdiction except for the certain committees with the performing the House function with a joint committee with a member with the usually seeking election with the committee with the jurisdiction over the field with the members is qualified with an interest with for example the committee with the judiciary over the traditional over the publicized unpopulated number of lawyers member of the ranking seniority at according for the order of the appointment of the full committee with the ranking majority with the member with the most constituted serve as the other elected chairman with the rules of the House require the committee chairman to be elected for nominations submitted with the majority party caucus at the commencement of each of the Congress. No member of the House may be serve as the chairman of the standing committee over the same Subcommittee, therefore, more than 3 consecutive of the Congresses, except for the case of the Committee on the Rules of the House, provide for the committee to maintain with more than 5 committees that may have with the oversight of the committee with is 6. Standing rules allow with a greater number to the subcommittee with the committee at operation oversight of the government reform, and in addition with the House for the may grant with the loan certain committee to establish additional subcommittee during the Congress. So each committee with the provide with the professional staff with the innumerable administrative the details involved with the consideration bill oversight with the responsibility standing committee with the professional staff limited 30% appointed over the vote of the committee with the 2/3 of the committee staff over the selected with the majority vote of the majority committee with the members and the 1/3 of the committee staff are selected majority vote of the minority committee of the members of the all staff of the appointment made without regard for the race, creed, sex, or age. Minority staff of the requirement does not apply with the committee stand with official of the conduct because of the bipartisan nature of the committee operations have a special authority under the rules of the House of the appointment staff of the minority. 6. The consideration of the committee with the on first action with the big committee to see with the input with the relevant department of the agency with the bill frequently bills with the government accountability office with the request for the official report of view of the necessity with the desirability with the enacting of the bill and the law with normally the ample time with the given in the submission of the reports are accorded with a serious consideration. However, the reports are non-binding with the committee to determine whether or not the action with a favorable on with the bill. Reports of the department, agency, executive, the branch submitted first for the Office of Management and Budget to determine whether the consistent with the program of the president of the committee with the committee with adopted with the rules of requiring referral of measures to the appropriate subcommittees unless the full committee with the votes to remain with the measure at a full committee. The committee meetings. Standing committee to require to have a regular meeting day with at least once over the month with the chairman of the committee may offer the call of the committee with additional meeting with the 2 or more members of the standing committee may file with the committee with a written request. Chairman call for the special meeting with the request must specify measure of the matter to be considered by the chairman that does not schedule the request a special meeting with a 3 calendar day after the following with the request to be held with a 7th calendar day following with the request for the majority of the member of the committee with the call with a special meeting with the following with the committee written notice for the specimen with the date with the hour to measure of the hour matter with the consider of the meeting with the senate with the chair with the may still control of the agenda with a special heating for the meeting through the power of recognition committee meetings with the held for the various for the purpose include with the markup of the legislation authorization subpoena with an internal budget of the impersonal manner for the subpoena authorized issue of the meeting of the vote of the committee with the subcommittee with the majority of the members to present with the power authorized issue of subpoenas also made with the delegated with the chairman of the committee with the subpoena may be required with the both the testimony of the documentary evidence to be furnished with the committee with the subpoena with the assigned with by the chairman of the committee with the by the member designated by the committee. All meeting with transaction business with the standing committee with the subcommittee except for the committee with the steering with official conduct with it must be open to the public except for the committee with the subcommittee with the open session with the majority president determined to be the record vote with all of the party with the remainder of the meeting on the half of the shall be closed with the public the members of the committee the authorized congressional staff of the department of representatives to present with any of the meeting that has been closed with the public open committee meetings of them have then covered by the media the permission covering of the hearing meetings for the granted under the detailed condition provided with the House of the rules. The rules of the House provide for the House for the committee made out during the joint session with the House and Senate during the recess of the joint meeting with the House and Senate in progress with the committee with may meet all of the other times during the adjournment with the recess up to the expiration constitutional term. Rules of the Senate provide for the Senate committee with the may not even meet more than 2 hours after the meeting with the Senate with convention in no case for the after 2 p.m. when the Senate is in session. Special leave for the purpose of the may be granted majority minority leaders. Public hearing delay for the public if the bill is sufficient important for the committee with the May 7th of the day with the public hearing chairman in each of the committee except for the committee on the rules is grow with the make a public announcement of the day with the place and subject matter of the hearing at least once over the week before the commencement of the hearing unless committee of the chairman concur with the ranking with the minority of the member of the committee with the majority in the vote determines with a good call for the beginning of the hearing with the earlier date with the termination when it is made with the chairman must make a public announcement to effect with the earliest published date possible the day with the public announcements are published with the daily digest portion of the congressional records if possible with the announcements are made often noted by the media the public notice of the hearing is usually in form of a letter and sometimes for the relevant individual organization government department agencies. Yes.